Good day, everyone. Two ordinary cops. We're back. How are you, Schultzy?
Yeah, good mate. No, cruising along. We're having a good bit of rain, and I believe you're having a bit of rain down your way.
We are. I can barely hear you. It's getting heavier and heavier as we record.
Is that-
Anyway, we'll make do. We'll push on, mate. We'll push on.
I have to talk louder.
Yeah. Well, is that possible? Yeah.
Mate, I believe you got a couple of shout outs, mate.
Yeah, I got one. So I mentioned in the prisoner transfer episode how my mate Dave O'Riordan brought me out a bucket of KFC to Borroloola. Well, anyway, he rang me. So we had a bit of a chat, and he got out of the police and actually joined the fireys, and he got back into the police. Anyway, he's now at the search and rescue team in the NT, and he's loving it. So good on you, Dave. I didn't realise everyone's listening, so that's good, mate. Glad you're enjoying it. And yeah, no, bloody happy days. He was one of those. He was a bloody excellent bloke to have on your PG. I worked with him a little bit in Tennant Creek when I first went there, and then I worked with him again in Darwin, Darwin City. And he's a big dude, and he's just a very relaxed chap, excellent sense of humour. But when shit gets real, so does Dave. So, yeah, he's very he's
Oh,
excellent. He's got an excellent attitude and just a make-up for a copper, just exactly what you want. So, yeah, good on you, Dave, mate. We love it. Shrek, they call him. Shrek. Dave O'Riordan, the big Shrek.
but actually, mate, talking about big dudes, we were talking about Phil Farley, and actually, I noticed that somebody had tried to copy his Facebook or hijack his Facebook the other day, and I sent him a message, and he got in contact with me. He's now working in Catherine prosecutions.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were talking about the how the Catherine two-step still exists, aggravated assault
Yes.
breach DVO. Yeah, no, very
Yes,
good.
mate. The most popular charge, I believe,
Yeah.
at the moment. So it hasn't changed too much.
Actually, well, it's funny. Phil Farley, I don't know exactly how tall he is, but I swear to God, he's 8'9", and he's an absolute monster. And he was a bit of an older fella when he joined the police. And not calling you old, Phil, just that's you were older than us. So we had a job one day, and he was brand spanking new. He was a brand spanking new probie, and there was me and someone else, and Phil was there. And I remember we were talking to some people, and they were getting a bit stroppy. And Phil was brand new and didn't really know what he was doing, which is fair enough. And anyway, we said, "Oh no, well, be careful. We'll get big old sergeant here. He get on to you. Oh, you're right. Oh, no worries, Sarge." And this brand new probationary connie go, "What?" But he was just such a presence. He was exactly what you wanted. Actually, 8'9".
Oh,
That's underwhelming. I'm pretty sure he's 10'4".
mate, I wouldn't, mate. Yeah, I would completely agree with you. And I've got another
He's
good
a
story.
monster.
Like when he was well, I trained him a little bit when he came out of the college. And anyway, we went to this one job one night, and was it Club 23? Was that the one in Catherine?
Yeah, the notorious
Yeah,
nightclub in Catherine. Yeah,
yeah. And anyway, it must have been a Friday night or Saturday night. I can't really remember, but we got called there. Apparently, they had somebody inside that was drinking that needed to be kicked out of the bar. But he always causes fights, and I can't remember the guy's name, but not that I've mentioned it anyway. But he's a pretty big dude. Anyway, so we rock up there. I don't know. It's about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, something like that. And anyway, we have a chat to the bouncers. They said, "Oh, he's just at the bar." We kind of asked him to go out, but he's just threatening to fight us and all that sort of thing. So, oh, it's all right. So anyway, I walk straight in. Phil's still sitting there talking to the bouncers at the front door, and I walk straight up. I see him at the bar. I walked up, and he turns around and has a look at me, and I said, "That's it. You're out, mate. Go on, at the front door." Anyway, and he turns around. You can see him look down at me, and he turns around to put his glass on the bar, and I said, "Oh shit, here we go. This guy's going to have a go. It's going to be like we're going to have a blue in the middle of the club here." As he's turned back around, though, Phil's walked up behind me as he's
yeah,
turned, and he's looked down at me, and he's looked up at Phil,
yeah,
and then started to walk out the door,
yeah.
and I've gone and I said, "Like I fucking told you, get out of here."
Schultzy grew 4 foot as well. Big brain. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for command presence.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, yeah. It was just perfect timing. It was such a classic. So thank you, Phil. You actually saved my ass that night. Um,
Yeah. Oh, so good. Yeah. So, mate, I think Miriam came up with the topic for tonight, and I've sort of been racking my brains, but it's probably something that might be a bit interesting. So, we're going to talk about weird jobs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So, do
well,
you
mate,
reckon?
I'll yeah. Sorry, mate. You go.
You're right. Go for it.
Yep. No, because yeah, it was funny because she said to me, and I kind of I was a bit the same as you because I just spoke to you about it before, and I'm going, oh shit, I can't really think about it. Then this one came to mind about half an hour later after she mentioned it, and so it would have been, oh, I don't know, I can't remember the year. It was early on anyway. I was still probationary, and I think, and Nick Byrne, correct me if I'm wrong or right here, but I think I was working with you that night, and we got called to about, I don't know, it was about 30 k's or 40 k's north of Catherine. Somebody been driving along, and there was a white van in front of them, and then they suddenly saw all this women's underwear pouring out the side door of the van, so they called it in.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. So we gone. All right. So anyway, we head up there, and you know how you drive along. It's about 11 o'clock at night, so you don't see anything for ages, and then suddenly you see this piece of women's underwear. Oh shit! Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Oh shit! No, there's a whole truckload of them. They're all the way up the highway for probably about 500 meters. There's women's underwear, hundreds of them, and
Yeah,
everything
right.
from your G-string leopard print to bloody granny undies. Like it
Kmart
was,
specials.
oh yeah, and all sizes from like probably what 8 or 6 to 20. Like it was just everything. Anyway, we're looking around and we didn't have any other details. It was just this white van. We didn't go past one on like it was heading into Catherine, and because it was southbound, not just north of Catherine. And yeah, we didn't come across any cars when we got the report, and they didn't have any more details for us. So basically, we ended up with these hundreds and hundreds of women's underwear all over the Stewart Highway, and we nothing. Yeah, there's nothing more we could do about it. There was no other information available, so I'm
Yeah,
not really sure
God.
what was going on there.
Just probably just a laundromat. Just dropped the bag on the bloody road. Yeah, no, it's funny. I'm racking my brain. Weird stuff happened a lot. It was like funny stuff. It's just
Yeah,
this is going to be a memory test because I remember just going like that's just bizarre. Like you're just sort of working it out. I'm just looking up because it's hailing. I think we're getting a bit
I
of
was,
hail. Yeah, I can hear tin like stones on tin roof hitting the roof. But anyway, we'll be right. If it all goes away, you know what happened to me. So I oh there goes the power. That's all right.
oh
So anyway,
yeah,
we did have a job. We had a double fatal, and we didn't attend the actual job. What happened was it was a day shift job out, I believe, towards Mataranka. And me and my partner, I can't remember who I was working with. It was early days, and me and my partner went out to basically hold the scene overnight. Being a double fatal, major crash. Sorry, at that point was going to come down from Darwin. Um, and they wanted the scene held for the morning so they could examine it properly. So we were crime scene guards, which is pretty common. So there's nobody there. There's just us. Me, we're sitting out in the absolute middle of nowhere on the Stewart Highway, with every 15, 20 minutes a road train to go past and not much else. So
yeah.
anyway, we'd been there for hours, and we did have a satellite phone. And anyway, the sat phone rang, and I'll never forget the conversation. It was the sergeant from Catherine just going, mate, is there any indication that there might have been three people in that vehicle? And we're like, no, there's no one else here. He goes, can you just, without touching too much, just have a look inside the vehicle as best you can and just look for evidence of someone being ejected or something. Anyway, we had a good look and there was just nothing coming to hand. And we're pretty tired. We'd been there a fair while. And anyway, we're thinking, can't really, no, not really. Anyway, we hung up and my partner and I just went and sat back in the car and we both looked at each other and go, we'll just have a walk around. And anyway, we walked around for probably 5 minutes or so and nothing. And anyway, then my partner goes, oh, bloody hell. And I was like, what? He said, look what I got. And we walked over there and there was a dead body in the bush. So
Jeez.
hours later, so we're talking, potentially 12 hours after the actual crash itself. And that, he was a long way. It would have been 50 metres from the car. Yeah, we've found a third deceased person had been ejected from the vehicle and launched into the bush. So as a result of that job, and I've heard of others as well, where similar sort of circumstances where they weren't found immediately. I go to crashes now in the RFS, and quite often people look weirdly at me when I'm walking around in the bush downrange from where the vehicle would have impacted, looking for bodies. And I tell them that. And I tell them the little story. I say,
Yep.
the reason I do this is because I've missed one before. So, yeah, so I don't know. I'll think of more weird stuff, but I mean, that was spooky because we'd been just sitting there for ages, not knowing that, it wouldn't have been 50. It might have been 20 or 30 meters from us because it was just
Yeah.
within a close walking range in the middle of the night. Like we weren't going to go walking through the bush too far. But yeah,
Yep.
it was, so 20, 30 meters away, there's a dead man in the bush. He'd been hanging out with us all day.
Yeah.
So,
Jeez.
yeah, so
Yeah,
no,
mate. It's pretty funny. I was just thinking, one of my favourite ones, and look, for anybody out there that, like, especially cops and any frontline services, get in contact with us with any weird stuff that you have actually had, because some of it can be pretty funny. Like, I remember we got a call one night. Uh, Somebody rang 000. This is back when Catherine used to take the phones, and they were complaining about a racist dog. So.
yeah. Oh yeah, some of the calls you get through, bloody hell.
And I said, "What do you want me to do? Shoot it?" Like,
Yeah, yeah, we'll get the Human Rights Commission onto that thing. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I'm just racking my brain a little bit. That's not so much weird. It was just I think it scared the hell out of us. It certainly scared my partner. Anyway, it was a different job. We were in Borroloola at this stage, and similar thing. We were crime scene guard, middle of the night, and we had to sort of block a road so we're in Borroloola, so it's a hell of a long way away. Major crash investigators going to fly out from, I think, Catherine the next day. So they were going to be on the ground early, and we were going to knock off like at daybreak and head back to town to go to bed. Anyway, so we're on the road between Borroloola and Dormagee. So as far as remoteness, it's about as remote as you get. And we're probably, I don't know, 80 k's or so from Borroloola. Anyway, we had the radio just on a simplex channel so that me and my partner could chat. We're probably a few hundred meters apart, sort of protecting a big chunk of road in different vehicles. And anyway, you're sitting there by yourself in the middle of nowhere, so you certainly don't expect to see anybody. And anyway, my partner gets on the radio and goes, "Oh my God, I just need to talk to someone." It's like, "What? You right?" And she goes, "Such and such from the community." She knew the girl had walked up. So we're in the middle of nowhere, absolute middle of nowhere. Had walked up and knocked on the window, and she's dozing off and like just playing the radio really, the music radio just really quietly in the background, and probably ABC's about all you get out there. And anyway, she said, and she didn't tap lightly. This is a boom, boom, boom on the window right next to her, 2:00 in the morning or something. I reckon she would have jumped so far out of that seat it wouldn't have been funny, and spun around, and she took hours to calm down. She said, "I've never had a bigger adrenaline dump in my bloody life." So, you're in the middle of the nowhere by yourself, 400 metres from another copper in a vehicle that's further towards Queensland, and yeah, you've got company. And I think what had happened was they were sitting off in the bush having a drink, sort of working out what had gone on, and she just come over to see if she could get a lift back to town, and was promptly told to go away. So, but like weird stuff out in the bush, I don't know. I've heard stories. I haven't seen it myself. I've heard min light stories of hang on, I do have a weird story, but it wasn't mine. I'm not going to name the guy. But the police station at Maranboy is notorious for being haunted.
Oh, yes, it
And
is.
I'm not going to name him. I'm not going to name the guy, but he's the kind of bloke who wouldn't believe in ghosts. And I've never heard the story A1, so this is a little bit of hearsay, which goes against what we normally would say. But I know for a fact he doesn't like talking about it. Apparently what happened was, and this wasn't operational, but it was in the visiting officers' quarters for a relief member about our vintage who'd come down and was relieving at Maranboy, which is a station for those playing along. It's if you head south from Catherine, you turn left about 70 kilometres south of Catherine, and you head up through the central Arnhem Road that takes you up through Arnhem Land to Nhulunbuy. So Maranboy is about 20 kilometres along that road. It's just a police station in the middle of nowhere. It's an old tin mine that was a little bit of a township, but now is just the police station. Anyway, there's an old hospital there, and that's what's believed to be haunted, is the old hospital. And I don't know the full story of what goes on, but anyway, this particular fella apparently was asleep in bed in the VOQ, and he was woken up with pressure on his chest, and a face right in front of his face. And you can imagine the absolute shriek of horror waking up in the middle of the night like that. And he said, as quick as the pressure came, it left, and there was nobody there. And he said it was a young girl, and she looked to be dressed in very old-fashioned clothing. And yeah, that was all he said. And he couldn't see much, obviously, but he said, yeah, she looked like she was in very old-fashioned clothing. Anyway, I don't know what the outcome was, but I would have been straight in my car back to Catherine. That would have been the end of that deployment. Bloody hell, what's wrong with you? I'm going on leave. I don't want to talk about it. So, look, I don't know. I'm not. I'm a skeptic. It is what it is. But I've heard quite a few stories of things like that. So I don't know. I like to listen a bit and keep an open mind. But who would know? But that's
Well,
remote areas.
Maribor did have that. There was quite a few people that have mentioned about that being haunted as well. So there's definitely stories over the years. So, and any ex-NT cops that actually worked out at Maribor, if you do have any, let us know.
Yeah, we'd like to hear some haunted house stories at Maribor. Yeah,
because I never saw anything. I only spent about a week out there, I think. But you spent a few weeks out there, didn't you? At one
I
stage.
spent months out there. I never saw anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I spent a long time out there.
Yeah.
But
The
old.
Well, I was just thinking I've had I also had one where a guy, I don't know, I can't remember how we actually came across him. It was either a job we called in or a car we pulled over or something like that, and it was in Catherine. And anyway, I'm chatting to this guy, and this guy was definitely not all there. He was a tinfoil hat sort of guy, and aliens were coming down, and mate, he was all over the joint. Now, if anybody who's a police officer understands, and I think our policy and procedure had just changed at the time that if we're going to convey him to the hospital for a mental health assessment, you'd have to go like your first choice was an ambulance and all that sort of stuff, and it just got really tricky because the problem is ambulance in Catherine is not easy to come by because they're so busy running around doing everything. So I actually managed to basically become friends with this guy just listening to everything he had, and I convinced him to drive himself to the hospital to get mentally assessed. Because it was the easiest way to actually stick within the policy and procedure. So,
and it's not like he's a suicide threat. It was more like people,
no,
people if you're going to be a threat to yourself or someone else. But
that,
that policy was, I'll just call an ambulance. Like, no worries, I'll call one, but I can tell you what the answer's going to be.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yes, no, there was a lot of that. But yeah, weird jobs. I'm racking my memory, Schultzy. We might have to revisit because I can't think of them.
Can't you?
We've got.
Mate, I will tell a story though. So it was back when we were taking triple O calls, and I must mean, I was working. We were in the muster room, anyway, I got this call. It was about 10 o'clock at night one night, and it was 000, and it was an old bloke on the phone. He goes, the fucker should be dead. And I've gone, what? Oh, what are you talking about, mate? Like, what's going on? He goes, I had the gun pointed at him. I pulled the trigger, and the fucker didn't go off. And I'm just going, oh shit!
Bloody hell!
All right, okay, what's going on here? Anyway,
easy, Turbo.
You'll actually know this story when I get to the end of it. Anyway, I'm going, oh shit, and I managed to get out of him. Basically, what happened was somebody had broken into this old bloke's house, or continually been broken into by one of the recidivist offenders in Catherine. And he got the shits one night, and he got his old gun out, and it had old bullets in it, and he's actually pointed the gun at this guy, pulled the trigger, and it didn't fucking go off.
Yeah, so he's the just guy straight up stoppage.
Pretty much, yeah. And
we'll just go through the IA drill, clear the stoppage, reload, and retry again. For those listening along, it's just a joke. I'm not condoning homicide. It's all good.
And anyway, like we ended up having to go down charging. Oh, we had to go and rip. He wouldn't give us the keys to the safe, the old bloke, so we had to rip it out of the wall. What what I think that the disappointing thing about this whole job was, and people probably think of me a bit weird here, but we actually had to charge the old bloke for threatening somebody with a firearm, which is understandable because
Yeah,
I mean, however he was in his own house and all that sort of thing, but it's still against the law, so you can't do that sort of shit. And anyway, the actual guy that got broken in, that kept on breaking into the old bloke's house, he then became the victim
mm.
in this case, and he was my first ever arrest.
Yeah, right.
So I knew the guy as soon as they brought him in. I've gone, oh shit, really? So this guy kept on, yeah, coming. Like I knew him my whole career, basically. Kept on
Mm.
getting it. I mean, I had to give evidence one day for a rape that he'd committed many years ago in the Supreme Court. So he's not the best dude in the world. But yeah, and that guy, that old guy, had cancer and he died like 3 months later. So never had
Yeah,
this. He never actually went to jail or anything like that. But you'll probably know this because he really got the shits with the police and the way they handled it, and we handled it within the law.
yeah,
Everything was straightforward. But he then said when they opened the gun safe, because we ripped the gun safe out of the wall, we brought it to the Catherine Police Station, put it inside the armory, and then we had to get a locksmith to come in and open up the safe, and then they checked everything off. But then he made a claim there was $10,000 cash in there, which was never there. So then
yeah.
it created an internal investigation. Were you there when that happened?
Oh, it's vaguely familiar. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So,
yeah,
but all of us got hauled. Anybody that had actually, so for anybody interested, the armory in Catherine, you had to have a swipe card to get in there. Of course, your own personal swipe. So they recorded everything from when the safe was in there to when, basically asking about the money. So we all got taped up over it, but it was just bullshit. There was never any money in there.
no, that's it.
Um,
Yeah,
it's just one of those things. But yeah, that's probably one of the weirdest phone calls I got straight. Like like he goes, "The fucker should be dead." I'm just going,
yeah,
"What are you talking about?" That's
yeah.
pretty
No,
full on.
no, definitely. Yeah, no, weird things do occur. Actually, this is
Yeah,
kind of weird. This completely consumed my Christmas day in 2008, I believe. What had happened was early in the morning we woke up. Sorry, I was at Marramboy again. So very early in the morning, so probably 6 a.m. Christmas morning, we get a phone call to Barunga community, which is just down the road. It's famous for the Barunga Festival. And it's not too bad of a community. Beswick further up is a little bit more busy normally, but it's a little bit further towards probably about, I don't know, 60 Ks away from Marramboy, and the other one's about sort of 15, 20. Anyway, we got a call to a house fire, and the call was quite detailed. It sort of said, yeah, this house at this number is completely alight, and we think there are people in it. So myself and my partner, we had Christmas Day was rostered off, and well, I mean we're in the community, so we're still there. But anyway, so we jump in our vehicle and we're tearing off to Barunga because we're acutely aware there's no fire service except for Catherine anywhere nearby. So we grabbed, I think, as many fire extinguishers as we could for whatever that was going to be worth, and tore off to Barunga. And we drive into the community and nothing. As you're approaching, you would expect to see a big black plume of smoke, but there was nothing. We drove around. We went past the house in question, and there's kids playing in the garden. There's nothing. It's a completely false call, and that's pretty common for when you want the police out of the way to do a grog run or something similar. So
yeah,
anyway, we've gone right. There's nothing here. So there's going to be an offender driving here in a minute with or drive past to go to Beswick or something. So we drove out on the road and we're looking for vehicles, thinking someone's going to come through. We thought, well, we called out. We'll just see what's going on. Anyway, this is back in the day when they just rang. This is before Darwin Com. So it was the phone call came straight to us at the station. There was no call back the informant or anything like that. So anyway, we just go back to the station and it's Christmas morning. It's about 7 a.m. We're just about to de-kit, and he goes, "You want a beer?" I'm like, "Yeah, bugger, it's Christmas Day. We'll have a beer." And anyway, we're about to open them, and the phone rings again, and this time it's a report of a stabbing in Barunga, and once again, it's a different person on the phone, but the call is really detailed. Like, when you can ask a question, it's like, oh, okay, so who is it? Oh, I don't know who that is. What's he wearing? Oh, I don't know. Okay, so you
Mm.
said they've got a knife. Describe that knife. Tell me where's the patient? Where's this? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so it's rubbish. Anyway,
Yeah.
they said, no, you got to come. It's full on. So anyway, we thought, we'll go for another drive. We'll patrol the community and we'll talk to a few people, and we might go and see if there's anyone hanging around the phone booth in town. Anyway, we drove out there, and from memory, there wasn't mobile phone reception there at the time. So we did a lap around again, and nothing, and back. And by this stage, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning, and we finally go, bugger it, we're having a beer, and we're not going out to Barunga for any more rubbish calls. But it's double time and a half for a call out on Christmas Day, so we weren't overly concerned. So anyway, and we got nothing else to do. We're just sitting around well, we did have a big lunch and dinner sort of plan for Christmas Day, but that is what it is. Anyway, we crack a can and we're just sitting at the back of the station. Merry Christmas, mate. Yeah, Merry Christmas. And I believe my partner's, he's the permanent member there. His wife came down to the station, just Merry Christmas, all this stuff. And then next minute, the vehicle comes tearing into the police station. And we're like, what is going on? This morning is weird. So we quickly put our beers away. We walked out the front, and this lady gets out, and she had, from memory, a New South Wales number plate. And she's come out quite, not hysterical, but quite animated. And she's going, there's been a crash. It's on the highway. It's right at the corner, right at the turnoff. She goes, I'm pretty sure one of them's dead. There's a few other people there. They're a bit upset. I didn't want to stop. I stopped briefly. I saw what was going on, and I came straight here because I saw the police station sign. And we're anyway, yeah, okay. So we jump in the car and we tear off. We report it through. So we made a phone call to Catherine and reported that. And we said we'd give them a sit rep when we got there. So we drove out there, and anyway, we turned up, and yeah, sure enough, there'd been a rollover at the corner of Central Arnhem Road with one deceased. So anyway, we're now sitting on this highway for the next 19 hours, I believe we were there by the time I finished work that night. So that was Christmas Day, 2008, 2009, one of those years. But what was weird about it was I ended up being there by myself. I said to my offside, I said, mate, you go. I'm out here relieving. My wife's down south on leave. Like, I got no one around. You go and be with your wife. I was only looking after the car at that point until the tow truck turned up, because we were going to take the vehicle to the forensics yard in Catherine for the night. So I was going to follow the tow truck into Catherine, drop the vehicle off, and then head back. So that was my sort of role. But what was weird was people kept pulling up right through the day and going, "Oh, Merry Christmas!" And they kept giving us things like chocolates and biscuits and all kinds. One person pulled up that half a hot chook. So all this stuff kept on getting dropped off. So by the time my partner left and went back to Narranboy, he couldn't fit dinner in because we'd had Christmas dinner on the side of the Stewart Highway. It was, the body was gone by this stage. It was just us guarding this body on Christmas afternoon, and people were travelling up and down, whatever they're doing. But just the generosity of people at the side of the road. And we explained what we were doing, and they're like, "Oh, so sorry, and you're not with your family." So I think the weird part was what had gone on earlier in the day, and then I think the later part of the day was just more the generosity of the community. There was people coming and going up and down the highway, and they were just looking after the local coppers. So
Yeah.
that was pretty good.
Actually,
But look,
uh,
I just can't think of anything crazy. I mean, I know I remember going to weird stuff all the time, but I've got a mental blank. We might have to pop one up in the next one if I think of one in the next week.
yeah, mate, I was just talking about what you chatting about there, and I did come to a one job, but I'm going to wait and see if we can get. We'll shout out to Katie McKean, see if we can get her on one time, because that Christmas domestic, that's a pretty big job, but I think that'd be good with both of us because both of us attended that one.
Oh, that was really, really early too, wasn't it? Really early on.
That was the first Christmas in the job, mate.
It was too.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll wait until Katie. We'll get her on the show, and both her and I can tell that story because it'd be good from two different perspectives. But talking about overtime on Christmas Day, mate. So basically this is when I was living in Ramangini, and I was and of course you can't drink down there. And I spent 3 Christmases, I think, or no, 2 Christmases out there. And anyway, I'd arranged because my good old our good old friend Johnny Tickner was in Maningreta, right? So he was policing up there, and I'd arranged to for basically my offsiders were going to look after the station for Christmas Day while I went up there and had a beer with the boys up there. So
Yeah.
it was just one of my getaways, so I can actually have a Christmas off. And anyway, I got a call out Christmas Eve, so it was, I don't know, probably about at 8 o'clock at night or something, and that was in Ramangini, and then I was going to drive up to Maningrida. Anyway, I cleared that one by about 10 o'clock, and I was about to knock off and then start driving up, and then Tickner called me and he goes, "Oh, Schultzy." Said, "Yeah." He said, "You're on overtime at the moment, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well," he said, we just need some help with the job up here, so because they were already having a few beers themselves, so they didn't want to call anybody else out. He said,
Mm.
"Well, when you come up, you want to keep them working." So, yeah, right. So anyway, I drove up there and worked. I think we ended up working until about 1 in the morning or whatever, or 2 in the morning or something like that. And then I went and caught up with them, but everybody was going to bed. But they had a big seafood thing organised the next day, and we're going to have a few beers. And yeah, that's really good. Anyway, 10 o'clock in the morning, get there, and I've just cracked my first beer. Anyway, Tickner goes, "Schultzy, yeah, basically, old mate at the station, we can't get a hold of the other guy that's on call. He's out fishing at the moment. We can't get in contact with him." He goes, "Can you go out to the job?" Yeah, all right, okay. So anyway, I went out to the job. I finished that job 1 o'clock the next morning. So
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 that's
all
Boxing Day.
Christmas, yeah. So yeah, but basically Boxing Day morning. Anyway, as we're finishing up, he was a new guy out there. He was a probie that was working out at Man and Greeter, and he turned to me as we're knocking off at 1 in the morning. He goes, he said, "Oh," he said, "who should I call if we get another job?" I said, "Mate, my fucking whole Christmas thing's been fucked up." I said, "Just call me."
Just call me.
So anyway, I went to bed. 5 o'clock the next morning, I get a call. Fucking, we're out on job, dead body.
Oh
So
yeah, job's on.
that that was Boxing Day, and I worked from 5 until 6 that evening.
Yeah, right. So
So
was the first one? Was it Christmas Eve into Christmas Day and then into
yeah,
Boxing Day? Yeah,
and then
right.
and then Christmas Day, and then Boxing Day. So I
Yeah,
end up working, I think, at double time and a half, about 25 hours.
yeah. Nothing wrong with
Double
that
time
bank
and a
account.
half.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a good pay, that one.
yeah, yeah. No,
But I
definitely.
didn't get my Christmas beer.
No. No, mate. I think yeah, weird jobs. I've got no doubt that we could definitely get something from the crowd for this because I think I'm just struggling to think of anything raging. I know that weird things happen. There's a couple of weird ones that I did have, but they were weird suicides, and I don't really want to talk about them. Not for my sake, just for I don't want to identify anyone around it, because
Yeah,
people will know the circumstances. But I did attend a couple of very very bizarre suicides. Um, but yeah, I mean weirdness happens a lot. Don't get me wrong, weirdos happen every day. You deal with weirdos constantly. But what we're talking about today is like the things that you just go, what the? So,
yeah,
and I remember that happened a lot. I just can't think of it. Think of any at the moment. But that's yeah. So I think what we want is we want to throw it out to the crowd and hey, listen, even people who aren't coppers, if you've got something real weird to tell us that you've sort of encountered that might have been spooky or just bizarre, who knows? But yeah, let us know. Get in touch and we'll talk about it.
yeah, definitely. And I imagine there would be probably, we do have quite a lot of police and or even frontline service or anybody listening to this, and I guarantee they'll have a job pop into their or something, an incident pop into their head.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
as soon
yeah,
as you
no
start
doubt.
talking about weird stuff, and like it's just like that. That female underwear is just. But it took me half an hour to think about that.
Yeah,
After Mary mentioned it, no, I just couldn't think of anything because when you get put on the spot, you kind of
yeah,
sit there and try and rack your brain and trying to fucking figure out what you're going to talk about. But yeah, no, that women's underwear was definitely weird. Actually, I look, I'm going to give a shout out here, and he probably won't mind me. Matt James used to sell women's underwear back. It was one of his entrepreneur things when he was a
that's right. Yeah,
younger guy.
Matt's the one of the people who sort of talked us into doing the podcast. So yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
there you go. No, very good. He's an entrepreneurial character, so that's good.
So I'm not sure whether his previous business had anything to do with that, mate. But
Yeah, there you go. No, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, what do you reckon? We'll wrap it up and we'll go again next week. What are your
Yep,
thoughts?
I think so. Yep, and again, like anybody, yeah, got anything, especially in weird jobs, get in contact with us. Probably through the socials is the best, or you can contact us on contact us at childrencops.com. And yeah, get in touch that way. Or if you got our number, just give us a call.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, mate, you want to finish it off?
Yeah, no, that's us. We're done for the week, and we'll talk to you next time. 200 Cops. See you later.
See ya.